Ah, the glory of being a big ol' orc. Look at me. Am I not beautiful to behold? Gorgeous, even. Look at my tusks and how nice and pretty they are. I take good care of them, you know. I brush my teeth on a regular basis. I floss. I have this small goblin that sometimes follows me around, and he'll give me breath mints and things so that I can smell very nice when I breathe. Isn't it great? This is Gitbiter. He is my boy. I haven't decided to make a Choppa Boy because you know what? I honestly really like greenskins, the Orkies, the Goblins, the Orcs of 40k, and the Grots, and all of that stuff. I really like Orcs and stuff like that in Warhammer 40k and Warhammer Fantasy. And you know the thing that's funny to me about this is I was thinking about it. I don't really like Orcs in any other media really. Like, I'm not big on World of Warcraft orcs. I mean, I'm not really big on World of Warcraft, mind you, but I'm not really big on World of Warcraft orcs. I'm not really big on Lord of the Rings orcs. In fact, in Lord of the Rings, my favorite bad guy types are actually the Haradrim. I think they're just more interesting looking, and I like, you know, I like Middle Eastern history and stuff like that, and though I like their clothing and things like that, even though I don't really know anything about them. They might be one of those things where like it's basically just some like weirdo white guy writing about some people that kind of look different and then going, and can you believe how different they are to me, the whitey? And then you know that's like just kind of his thing. That's just kind of his thing, you know. It's weird. It's weird when that happens. But yeah, I'm playing an orc choppa. I've played a black orc before. I'm not as big on the tanks in this game. I do like a couple of tanks. I like being a knight, the Knight of the Blazing Sun, because Knights of the Blazing Sun are one of my favorite Empire Knights. And I don't mind being a blackguard. I want to say it's a blackguard. I think it's blackguard. The um knight class or the tank class for the dark elves. I don't mind that one. Um, I was gonna play Chosen, but honestly, the Chosen boys just didn't look very good to me when I was trying to make one. And I made a Marauder and played a little bit of that. But I'm honestly enjoying this guy a lot more. I mean, look at his beautiful face paint. Look at my beautiful scars and all that. I also actually have a helmet. Um, Here, I'll show you. But I think it looks kind of silly, so I just don't show it, and instead I just have him run around like that. And currently I have two choppas, but I just got a new choppa, a new bigger choppa, so I'm gonna mess around with that for a little bit while I talk. Ooh, see? Now I have a great axe. And that's pretty cool, I think. Honestly, the orc area in this game is probably one of my favorite areas to just run through. I don't know. I mean, this is just kind of neat looking. I mean, I know it's kind of a generic fantasy landscape, but it's also got like a little bit of like arid stuff about it. You can see in the background there's a dwarfy statue that we've orcified, and I think it looks pretty. Um, but yeah, there's a lot of trees. There's this giant saw thing. I'm going to be honest, I do not 100% understand what the point of the giant saw thing is. I'm sure there's lore on it, but right now it just kind of spins around, you know, as you do. Now, ooh, I gotta find these wood choppers who are hanging out. I am basically role playing a bad union buster. And by that, I mean a bad nap buster. Look, he's napping. And I'm guessing what I'm doing is I'm grabbing these guys and throwing them into the feed barrel so that they can be eaten by this troll here. Which, um, you know, trolls are hungry. Understandable. And this is an easy way to select who should get the eated and who should not get the eated. So I understand economics and things are happen in orc society. Look at his eyes. His eyes are very green, but my eyes are like kind of like wait, my eyes are kind of like no, my eyes are kind of green too, greenish yellow. So that's cool. And here's one of my comrade orcs. I think I'm a little bit taller than him, although he is. Nope, he's not. He is not as high level as me either. This fella gets to lay down and continue his nap. Isn't that nice? Isn't this nice looking? Why, if there weren't a bunch of orcs running around with axes and things, you could probably go hiking around here and have fun just kind of going, hey, what's over here? You know what I mean? But yeah, no, orcs in Warhammer Fantasy and Warhammer 40k are some of my favorites. I used to have an orc speed freak army in 40k, and I always enjoyed riding around on the bicycles going, a vroom, a vroom. And then, you know, I had this little war buggy. This little war buggy I thought was really neat looking. And I very much enjoyed let's see here. I very much enjoyed that orc speed freak army. But after a while I wasn't really playing 40k, so I kind of got rid of all my orcs. But that was a fun army. Sometimes I think about rebuilding it and like just finding prints and stuff. Oh hey, ogres. Ogres were some of my favorite. They got a little chest here. They look like they're kind of just hanging out. This guy just kind of has his mouth permanently stuck open. This guy, you know, see, this guy's breathing. He's looking normal. Okay, this guy just looks weird. Okay, but that's fine. But yeah, and I also used to have this big night goblin army. And part of the reason I had a big night goblin army is because in 7th edition there was craft supply merchant. I thought there was a butcher around here somewhere. Oh, there he is. I've just learned a trade skill. Now let's go kill some boars so that we can butcher them and have some sausage for later. Oh, is this actually the lore? Okay. Yeah, so I guess it's just like a ton of choppas, like, basically taped together. That's kind of neat. But yeah, I had a... In 7th edition, there was the Battle for Skull Pass, and I played dwarves, and I also played night goblins, so it was a perfect set for me. So I bought like 3 of them, and that was my night goblin army. Well, that, and I also got a bunch of extra fanatics. And fanatics, in case you don't know, they're basically these little goblins that get you give them like mushroom brews, like a big mushroom potion, or like alcohol and potions and stuff like that. I'm not gonna. I think it's like drugged or something like that. Anyway, you give it to them, and they gain a lot of strength. They also get like really like loopy, you know. So we would do that. And then what you do is you put them in your night goblin units, and then you push them out when the enemy gets close. It's a lot of fun. And then they spin around real fast, and they have this really big ball and chain, and they're like really strong for goblins at the moment. And yeah, that was always a lot of fun. I greatly enjoyed using that army. And one of my favorite units I actually ever bought was I bought a rebellion orc. I bought this, excuse me, orc boar. I bought a unit of orc boys, just regular old orc boys, and honestly, that was just one of my favorite units. Just something about the... Oh. Gotta kill some mine vermin. Does this count as a mine vermin, or is it only specifically... Okay, I guess it does. But the thing was, just for some reason, I just really like those orc boys. I just really like that unit, but I only ever had one of them because I collected this back before I really got what human money was about. So like, only occasionally I would get money, and then I would almost always immediately go spend it on Warhammer. So that was fun, but didn't know much about it. But yeah, I really, really like that unit of boys. And it was kind of interesting because I would have this big goblin army led by goblins, and all that. But then there would just be a few orcs just kind of hanging around, and they were just kind of, doing their thing. I also, at one point, played. There was this guy at the old game store I used to go to, and he had lizardmen, and I had fought him previously with my dwarf army. Actually, funny enough, that was the dwarf army who had the slayers in it who went and hid behind cover, which is kind of funny. But I played against him later as orcs and goblins with my night goblin army. And one of the things I had that was a little weird was I gave one goblin war boss a bunch of magical items, and I had him completely by himself. My idea was that he was basically this crazy goblin warlord who thought that he was a real big guy, a real big badass. And it was this goblin warlord I painted up, and he just thought that he could take on anybody. So what he just decided to do was he I can't remember what I want to say. It's called a stegodon, but that doesn't seem right. It was the really big mount that lizardmen have. That it's like you can put a bunch of skinks on top of it. It was one of the dinosaurs. I can't remember which one it was, but this was a while ago, so I think they only had the one anyway. But it was this huge mount and it had like a skink war priest on it and all this other stuff. And so he charged it, and I just thought it would be funny to see what would happen. The thing that was funny was he ended up actually like just rolling really well, and then the skink guys rolling really poorly. He killed the mount, all of the lizard men riding it, and the skink war priest. He killed all of them by himself, and survived long enough after that to go charge a unit of skinks, another unit of skinks, and he ended up dying just because there were so many of them that kept attacking at him that he just didn't really have enough attacks to stop and kill them all, right? So, but it was so funny to me that he managed to do that, and he was just kind of a goblin legend to me ever since then. And it was also really funny because I would have these, like, because of the amount of goblin archers I would have lined up, night goblin archers, I would have just tons and tons of these guys. And one of the battles that was a little bit bigger, I think it was like 2,500 points. I'm not sure. I think I had over 100 night goblins, and like 60 of them were archers. And I had these three big units, which were 20 archers a unit, but it was like two big lines, so it was 10 archers across. And I think if I remember correctly, in this particular battle, what I did was I had two units that were just two two lines of 10, and there was one unit that was just one line of 20. And what I did was I just like, as soon as anything got into range, we just poured fire onto it. And we were actually doing pretty good at killing stuff because just like mass fire, and it was a lot of fun. Um, and there's, like sometimes my goblins would do surprisingly well in combat. I remember the one time I had my one orc unit by itself managed to like there were other units around it, but what happened was like the orc unit charged in and they just kind of swamped down this really big unit of I think they were just ogre bulls, and then just like from the side, I had my two big groups of spearmen charge in, and the ogre bulls were holding up pretty well by against just the orcs. But then with like all the extra goblins attacking as well, we ended up killing them, and it was funny because we ended up losing a lot of guys, but it was still a lot of fun to play those guys. Um, and just running around and enjoying the the various different like ways they would play. And I had a lot of fun reading like the Warhammer Orcs and Goblins 7th edition codex. Honestly, so I've been collecting some of the old 7th edition, 6th edition codexes again. I have the 7th edition Orcs and Goblins codex coming just again just because I wanted to kind of have it in my collection and read it because I had a lot of fun with that army. And I don't think I won very often with them, but I always had fun. Just like, just they were just so silly. It was just, it, like orcs and goblins are just good fun, man. They're just good fun. And they had all kinds of rules where sometimes they would basically just end up like fighting themselves and things like that, not really advancing. And then you could declare a war and like that was a lot of fun. They had a lot of little thematic rules and things like that. And orcs are generally speaking one of those orcs and goblins are one of those armies that people just kind of like. I'm not really 100% sure like what Age of Sigmar has done to orcs and goblins and things like that. I don't necessarily know that I dislike it all that much either, but I don't know. Just it's not as evocative to me and doesn't excite me in the same way that the old orcs and goblins stuff used to excite me. Like just the I would really say especially on the miniatures front because like the night goblins now they're like the madcap grots or whatever. Um I just don't like their design as much as the older white. Okay, there we go. Sure. As the older like orcs and goblin stuff, I don't enjoy them as much. Um and like for instance Iron Jaw orcs, I think that black orcs are a neat concept, like the big really heavily armored orcs are neat. Oh, okay. Are just a neat concept, and you can have a lot of fun with them. Um, I think that if you like them, I'm really glad. Just, but yeah, I don't know. Just I look at them and I just don't enjoy them as much. Kind of like how I don't enjoy the Lumineth as much as I enjoy High Elves. Like there's stuff I like in Age of Sigmar. I think some of it's pretty neat, but I think I think I like the look and design of greenskins from Warhammer Fantasy more, just as a general rule. And it's kind of interesting because when I was looking at the amount of change that happened to Warhammer, like in terms of like just the way it was kind of presented between fifth edition and sixth edition is pretty. It's quite a lot. It's pretty expansive. Like it's much darker in sixth edition, and that would kind of be the way that I think whenever I think of Warhammer. I think of like Warhammer, like fantasy. I mean, I think of like sixth and seventh edition and stuff like that. And I painted up a lot of those little night goblins, and I have to say that they never looked very good, but I did paint up a lot of them. And honestly, I was thinking about it. There's two starter sets for Warhammer Fantasy. Well, I guess actually technically three starter sets that I would kind of like to get like copies of and like in full condition if I, as in just everything still in them if I could at some point. And that would be the Battle for Skull Pass. I don't remember what the 6th edition starter box is actually called, but the 6th edition starter box, which has Orcs and Empire. And I want to get the Blood Island set, which is the Skaven versus High Elves. Honestly, I like almost every faction in Warhammer Fantasy to a certain extent. And I've always wanted, I've always really liked the idea of like having like 1,000 point or so armies in like every faction, so that like you can just have like 1,000 point games. Because I think 1,000 points are generally like better. I think one of the big problems with old Warhammer Fantasy is that, in this, I could really kind of see it even in like 8th edition as it was coming along, was just like the battles were just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and I don't know, I don't enjoy that as much. Like, even though I do like playing some horde armies, I don't necessarily like having just hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of figures on the field. It feels like it's not as fun to move them. It feels like it's much more of a hassle. And I like having just just smaller armies, like smaller battles. I think are more fun, and they're more, I like to think they're a little bit more easy to actually play, and I'm looking forward very much so to trying out Warhammer Armies Project when I try that out, hopefully later this week. And it's been a while since I played Warhammer Fantasy, but I really enjoyed it. Um, and there's certain armies though that would always kind of call to me, and honestly, like Orcs and Goblins is probably one of those ones that I always really really liked. I always I always enjoyed just being like a big orc or like a goblin warlord. Someone who's like, if he rules over orcs, it's just because he's managed to be clever enough, or he's managed to, maybe be sneaky and cunning enough to do it, and I enjoy that kind of stuff. Um, I think I do kind of look forward to the idea of building up another war band, and like with 3D printing and stuff like that, I'm really looking forward to that. Just maybe just getting some old, see if I can like find some files that are like the old Orc Boys, because the old Orc Boys were like like I said, one of my favorite kits, and I was just thinking just having a couple of those to put together would be a lot of fun, and maybe I'll do that. Another army, man, I like so many of these armies. I also really like Ogre Kingdoms, and at some point I think I'm gonna just do a video where I gush about Ogre Kingdoms for a little bit, but yeah, I, and sometimes if you play a certain army long enough, like a certain character idea will kind of start to like form in your head. Um, I don't know why, but for some reason recently I've just been thinking it would be fun to have like an orc philosopher who's just kind of like, he thinks about the battles and stuff like that, but ultimately, like, if you give him an axe and you got to fight him, he just want to fight you still. But maybe he actually wants to like capture umis or dwarves and stuff like that, and just ask him questions like, "Why is you fighting me like this? Or why is you city built like that?" I just think that would be rocks collected. Oh, okay. I don't even see any monsters. Okay. I don't know. I guess I shouldn't bother. Oh, I don't even think I explained. So if you're a butcher, if you have the butcher skill, you can just like take um like when you kill animals or like beasts, you can take like you can butcher them and you'll get like animal parts and it's like crafting parts. And I do that partially to get some extra money, but also partially because, you know, for crafting and all that other junk. I'm gonna steal this dwarf's beard hair and see if I can craft it into a potion. Beard hair potion. But yeah, I don't know. I just thought it would be kind of funny to just have like an orc that like thinks and just like can is more confusing than anything. Maybe he has like an a Humi lackey that follows him around and like explains things about imperial society, like, and he doesn't let anybody else like bully the Humi while he runs around and like gathers information. I thought it would be kind of funny if it was a dwarf, but like I think a dwarf would be just like way more bitter and angry about it. But maybe after a while, it could be kind of funny if he would just like lighten up maybe a little and just be like, I don't like he just starts to realize that the orc just has literally no negative intention, just wants to learn about your society. But every time you explain something to him, he's just like he just doesn't really get it. I don't know. Just I think that that's kind of stuck in my head lately, and I just sounds fun to me. Iron toe. I'm afraid your toes aren't iron, because I'm gonna check. Feet pics now. Feet pics to confirm. Um, but yeah, he. I really enjoy the idea of just like being like a night goblin shaman who's constantly looking at like ever more like crazy mushrooms to do rituals with, and he just consumes ever larger amounts, and eventually he like discovers like all these weird truths. Like he'll like learn about the old ones or something like that, but nobody will believe him because he's just like this weird like high little goblin. I don't know, that just was amusing to me, that idea. And you know, something about the 7th edition codex for Orcs and Goblins in particular, it just kind of captured my imagination, and I just always enjoyed reading that one in particular. Oh, hello? It's like spawned on top of me. Is this like the final stage? I don't know. But yeah, I thought something like that might be kind of interesting to have going on. You know, I've read a variety of dwarf stories where they have like orc or goblin characters as like villains and things like that, and um, I think that they're a lot of fun to read, and like some of my favorite little 40K short stories involved the orcs. There were I got this like audiobook collection on Audible that was just like Xenos stories, and it had a lot of orc stories or a decent number of orc stories. So I just kind of went through all those and honestly really enjoyed them. Um, Azag, I think it's Azag is how you say it, is my favorite um Warhammer Fantasy orc character. He's just, so if you don't know who Azag is, he's basically just this orc warlord. He rides on big wyvern, but he has this magic crown, and I think it has a piece of Nagash in it. I think it's Nagash. He has that's in the crown, and he just like talks to Nagash in his head sometimes, And because like he when he wears the crown, he's like basically partially possessed by Nagash, and like sometimes he'll like talk in his decidedly unorky voice and explain his plans and things like that. But apparently, he also regularly engages with like arguments with himself, and it's just I just thought that was a lot of fun because he's just like this it's just like this big silly orc, dumb, maybe kind of dumb orc warlord who is is now like uh, okay, there's one of them. I think this guy's a oh, he's just a champion. Okay, so I can't totally do this by myself. I mean, so these guys are champions. There's a stage above them. They're called heroes, and hero might actually, even as far above them as I currently am, might actually give me some trouble. But no, I just always thought that was really fun, and he's like, he has like, uh, he's an orc warlord who now has like this really advanced knowledge of magic and stuff like that. I've just always thought that was really funny. Just a fun little thing about him. Wow. Well, I'll need to get rid of some of this junk in my backpack just so I can um pick up the loot here when I'm done. Let's see, where is this last dwarf? But yeah, he's probably my favorite orc character. I just find it very amusing just to imagine just like, oh, why do you want to do that? And then like this like really refined way, like we have to do that because that's the only way for us to break into the dwarf hold. Like, oh, he can break into with lovers, and it's just like the idea of them having like these really long, like kind of drawn out conversation. Is it possible that he's like? Oh, he is. Oh, he's a hero. Okay, let's see. Uh-oh. Yeah, I might not be able to beat this guy. Come on. Uh, Uh-oh. Oh, so close. I wonder if I had the better abilities stacked together, maybe I could. Hmm. I wonder. Hello. Yeah, I'll do that in a second. Oh, okay. Okay, I want to try and beat that quest one more time. I want to try and see if I can beat the guy. Oh, two. Is it 2 minutes? I can't. Uh, hmm. I was just looking to see if I had anything I could equip. Uh, I'll give it just a second and then I'll try again, just so I at least have a health potion. Because if not, I did all that for nothing. But yeah, I really, really enjoyed him, and he had kind of his model wasn't the best, but a lot of the old orc models looked kind of silly. Grom the Fat was a goblin that I really enjoyed. I just enjoyed him having this gigantic squig named Gobla. Yeah, I think he was the only hero I actually owned a miniature of. He had this big squig, and I always thought that was really fun. I enjoyed the big squig. Squig squig. Um, Scars, Skarsnickers. Fun. Grom the Fat, it had this whole thing where he ate like some undercooked troll meat, and then he oh, let's see, can I don't think there's any slots open on this. Oh, there is. I'm trying to remember what it is. No, I think it's, yeah, it's, oh, looks like somebody's attacking him. Wait. We got this, little buddy. Well, maybe we got this. I'm gonna try really hard to get him. Come on. We did it! Yeah! I don't know if I could have done it without that little guy coming along. Wow, thanks a lot, little bit. Oh, man, now I gotta find him so I can thank it. Oh, wait, where the heck is the... Where the heck's the loot chest? Oh, I guess it's inside. Nice, nice, nice. A massive loot bag. Let's see what we got. Thankfully, thanks to this little guy, I now have a massive loot bag. Let's see. Anything cool? Ooh. Ooh, tough test of carnage. Let's see. What's that? That's a better one, I think. Let's try it on. Ooh. Now I have a cool bit of fur. But yeah, that was one of my favorite Warhammer fantasy races, was the Orcs and Goblins, and I just kind of felt like babbling about them for a little bit while I did that public quest and ran around and smacked things, and I thought maybe some of you guys might like to hear it. I love me some Orcs and Goblins. Tell me about your favorite Orcs and Goblins in the comments below if you feel like it. And, subscribe and all that fun stuff, I guess. Because, I guess that's important or something. I don't know. Meow. Have a great one. Bye-bye.